welcome to the Unscripted Untold podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about things that are off the script and we don't, that's untold, and we kind of go deep in the conversation. So I want to welcome you guys back. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but life be lifing, but we're going to get ourselves back on track, and we are no it's no better way to get back on track than to have a special guest on our podcast. Um, she's a friend. She did one of my podcasts about a year or two ago, and based on our topics that Janice and I have decided to do for this season, it was more than appropriate to have her to come back. This was from episode number 5, which we were talking about financial literacy. So, I mean, I think that was a good conversation. And so we wanted to bring an expert on and finish that, continue have that dialogue. And so I'm welcome to have my friend and, entrepreneur and just an overall, just a warm, very sweet person. Her name is Amber McNeil, and she is a licensed financial advisor. She works for Northwestern Mutual, and she's passionate about helping individuals, especially women, build confidence and take meaningful action toward their financial futures. She's a proud Jersey girl, now based in LA. She holds a master's in both in from Rutgers University and the State University of New Jersey. She has a heart for community and have a mission drive approach. And she is currently on a journey to help 100 women legacy to build their legacy for the year. So I appreciate you, Amber, for taking the time to speak with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome, Amber. Welcome.
Hi, ladies.
All right, so let's get on into it. Part 2 of financial literacy.
Let's do it.
What do you find the major challenges that affect the Black community, today, and what causes that when it comes to financial, our money?
Yeah, wow, you're jumping right into
I'm jumping right in the pool.
So, it's interesting. So most of my clients, I would say 95% of my clients are Black. So I think, this is something that I'm addressing and battling and dealing with every single day. And what I find that we're in a space where there's a lot of information, right? You can go on Google, there's just a lot of information. TikTok, Instagram, we're getting a lot of information. And so I don't even think the problem is really access to information. I think it's really just when something is foreign to you, even if you have information about it, because no one did it before you, it's really hard to trust that you doing this is going to yield some sort of result, right?
Right.
So you come from generational wealth, or you come from even the thought of like entrepreneurship. If you come from a family of entrepreneurs, your barrier to entry and your understanding and your willingness to also jump into that thing is forward. Like you feel more comfortable because you've had exposure to it. So although we have a lot of exposure to information, we haven't really seen the fruits of what this information is going to provide for us.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it makes us very hesitant to trust that, okay, this is the right thing to do. And then also, I do believe there is a such thing as analysis paralysis, where you're getting so much information that and sometimes contradicting information, that it makes you afraid to make a move because you're afraid of making the wrong move. You might be the first person in your family to be thinking about generational wealth. You might be the first person in your family to have a good job, the first person in your family to maybe have gone to college. And so there is this pressure in the Black community of, okay, I need to do the right thing. But when there's so many options and so many different ways you can go, sometimes it's hard to figure out and know like what is the right thing, right? And so that can get us into a space of like being paralyzed and not making moves. So I think it's a combination of too many decision fatigue, right? There's too many
Right.
options. There's so many different companies you can invest. There's just too many options. And everybody's a guru nowadays, right?
Right.
Just that historical aspects of we haven't seen what it means to build wealth and build legacy and have a financial plan. And so because, even though we're aware of it, we might not know people that are engaging with it. And so there's a little bit of fear there. And so that is where I think partnering with a financial advisor that speaks your language is helpful, because there's that cultural context and understanding. And so, like I said, 95% of my clients are African American. And I think I draw that crowd and I draw our community because I speak the same language as they do.
Right.
So I hope that
Wow.
answered your question.
Hey, that was exactly. I mean, yeah, you're right. It does. So there's so much information
Yeah.
that's out there, and it's just a matter of finding the right information and actually having a financial advisor as yourself to help us navigate through to making the right decisions for our future.
Yes.
So
Yes. Sure.
I absolutely love that question and the answer to it, of course. But so listen, we hear a lot about financial literacy, right? But how can we make financial education more relevant and accessible to Black families, especially our younger generations?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I would say, first off, if you have children, invite them into the conversation. Like, one of the things that I love us, I love our people, but the secrecy around money is literally crippling us, right? And so,
Yes.
one of the questions that I ask my clients is I ask them about their family's relationship with money, because a lot of our core beliefs and behaviors around money really are rooted in what we saw growing up and how our families dealt with money. And so whether your family talk to you about money or not, you were still absorbing information. You were still witness to how they handled money. Did it cause stress, anxiety? Were they good savers? Did they teach you to save? So the easiest way to start is to literally bring your children into the conversation and explain to them, like, oh, I go to work, and because I go to work, I earn a paycheck. And with that paycheck, I'm able to pay our bills. I remember being young, and just the concept of like, how do you pay a bill? I didn't know what that meant, right? I had no context of how do you pay a bill? What does that mean? So even things like, oh, okay, this bill came in. This is how much it is. This is how I'm going to pay it. Either I'm going to do a check or I'm going to pay it online. This is how, like, literally bringing children into those conversations from a very young age so they can start to understand. Even things like if they get money for their birthday or allowances, making sure like, hey, we always pay ourselves first. In this family, that's a value that we hold, that we pay ourselves first. And so we're going to put X amount of dollars into your savings account. So it's just these little things that you can start to do when your children are young, even if you yourself don't have a lot of money, and realizing, like, as a parent, if you're stressing about money and the way you talk about money, it does impact your children. So
right.
constantly telling them like, oh, we can't afford that. Oh, that's not for us. Oh, we can't go there. That starts to build a lack mindset in their minds. And it's
Wow. Yeah.
very hard to break out of that. So from the very early stages, even if you don't know a lot, you know how to save money and you know how to pay bills. And those are two skills that you can start to teach your children from a very young age. And then in terms of accessibility, like I said, there's a lot of content and there's a lot of information out there. And finding reputable sources can be a real challenge. So when you're looking at, following certain people online, it is important to look at, okay, what credentials does this person have? And
Right.
also what experience does this person have? You know, if this is somebody who's never bought a house, but they're trying to teach you how to become a real estate investor, well, you know, that might not be a great match. But if it's someone who
Exactly. Yeah.
has bought multiple homes,
Mm.
knows how to invest, you know, even though they might not be a real estate agent, they've have experience, which has worked for them. So you can look at, okay, this could be a trusted resource.
Absolutely.
I think the other thing in terms of accessibility, and I'll keep going back to it, there are so many resources that we even have through our employment that we don't realize. So things like if you have a 401k or a 403b, a lot of people don't realize you can call up the 403b or the 401k company, ask them to explain your account to you. Okay, that's easily accessible information. Explain this account to me. How does the 401k work? What are my investment options? Based on my retirement goals, is this the right thing that I'm invested in? And you get that
Hmm.
for free through your employer, right?
Oh, okay.
That's completely free through your employer. Even things like your insurance, like call up the company and ask them questions. And then I'm always going to go back to it, working with a professional, working with a financial advisor that understands your particular situation. And for me, I take an educational approach. So prior to my career in finance, I had a 10-year career in higher education, which is really where I started to see the need for financial literacy was with the college students that I worked with. And so I used to bring local financial advisors and financial coaches onto campus to lead workshops for students because I saw like there's a gap here that just
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
so for me, I take an educational approach when I'm working with my clients. So if you are looking to work with a financial advisor, make sure that their style of working and their philosophy aligns with what you need as well. So yeah.
Wow. You know, oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Were you
No,
saying
I was
something?
gonna say, I know we talk about this offline, but
Mhm.
I have two children. They're not small anymore, but everything that I learned pertaining to money, how
Uh-huh.
to invest, how to um, do certain things with our finances, put away a tenth for yourself, that type of thing.
Yes.
We begin to teach those things to our children, and
Mhm.
they have a better relationship with money versus when we and the mindset is so important. I think you hit that during your answer to the question, and I thought
Yeah.
that was important because the mindset is important too when it
Yes.
comes to money. So
Yes.
I love that answer. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say because Janice, we talked about that in episode the first part
Yeah.
of this podcast about how our parents, how we you learn from how our parents were with money,
Yeah.
and we talked about our examples of I'm a Generation Xer, so my
Mhm.
parents were they're from like the uh what's
Would it
before
be
that?
boomers?
The baby boomers, and
Yeah.
yeah, so that's so I
Yeah.
learned so I thought when you was talking about how you see how your parents have a relationship with their money because you learn from that as a kid, and
Yeah.
like you said, it's best to like Janice said, I mean, start talking about talking to your kids, and start saving, and then start learning how to invest,
Mm-hmm.
and learn what a bill is, and
Yes.
how do you obtain that bill, and how do you need to pay it.
Yeah. Even things
So
like credit, like I
Yes.
mean, there's so many things. And like, I'll give you a tip. You can make your child an authorized user on a credit card to help build up their credit. Because when they're first starting out, they don't have credit. So if you have good utilization with a credit card, you can add them as an authorized user and explain to them, what credit is, all these different things that we should be having conversations with our children about.
right,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Wow. So when we talk about building generational wealth,
Mhm.
it is overwhelming because there's a
Yeah.
lot, that we can do. So what practical steps would you recommend or suggest if somebody just wanted to start? Just a
Yeah.
step.
So I'm actually going to go back to mindset because what's interesting is that the concept of generational wealth is like a buzz term right now, right? And
Yeah,
what a
it is.
lot of people don't realize is when you think about generational wealth, you've got to consider the generations after you. When a lot of people say generational wealth, they're really talking about they want wealth for themselves today. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong with building wealth for yourself today, accumulating assets. We should be doing that. But the concept of generational wealth is beyond yourself. You've got to be thinking about your kids, your grandkids, your great
Right.
grandkids, and what legacy are they going to stand on in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So really generational wealth is oftentimes something that you will not even see the fruits of. And so just first off, having that mindset, I know for me personally, I think about my future grandkids. Like, I'm not even married, I don't have any kids, but I cannot wait to be a grandparent because I think about the legacy and the just what I'm doing today and how my grandchildren are going to reap the benefits of that because of the decisions that I'm making today. So
Right.
that's the mindset first that we need to have is just beyond ourselves, because if our grandparents or great grandparents had that foresight or forethought, now granted there were some barriers to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We could be standing on that, and we are standing on their legacy today, right? And so it's just, what do you want that legacy to be? So first thing is always mindset. And then the second thing I would say, and I think we might talk about this a little bit later, but like some of the tools that we have today and how can we utilize those to create legacy. So one thing that I know a lot of us are talking about is the concept of home ownership. So
Mm-hmm.
homeownership is actually the number one determinant of wealth in the United States. And when we look at the disparity between Black homeownership and white homeownership, there's a huge gap. And
Yes.
also when we look at the wealth gap, there's also a huge gap. So no wonder when we're thinking about who owns land, who owns property,
Yeah.
that group of people is going to hold more wealth, right? And
Mhm.
so I am a proponent of home ownership, and I'm also a proponent of being able to pass home ownership down through generations. So what often happens is grandmom passes away and we have to sell grandmom's house
Yep.
because it needs all these repairs,
Yep.
or there's back taxes that are owed
Yep.
on the house, or
Mm-hmm.
she didn't have a estate plan together and now the state
Mhm.
owns her home. So number one, like, there's just so many little things that we are not taking care of, whether it's the estate planning or keeping our houses up, that present barriers in itself. And then the second thing, when it comes to one of the easiest ways to build generational wealth, and I feel like our community is so against it, is life insurance. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
people don't realize, like, you're paying pennies on the dollar for a policy. Like, there's no reason why every single person that has children, young children especially, shouldn't have $1 million life insurance policy.
Mm-hmm.
And when we think about the death benefits, I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, like, oh, well, I don't want nobody getting rich off of me passing. I
I
just
know. I know.
Because you know why? Because you know why? If your grandparent or your parent had $1 million policy and you were the inheritor, the beneficiary of that $1 million
Mm-hmm.
policy, you
Yeah.
wouldn't be saying that,
You're
right?
right.
So
Exactly.
for me, when I pass, I want my family to be in a significantly better financial space than when I was here. Like,
Absolutely.
why would we not want our passing and our legacy to leave that level of mark on people that are still here? So first
Mhm.
off, back to mindset. We got to change our mindset. Because we if someone had that thought about us, we would be in a different position
True.
ourselves.
True.
So you know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
It,
It's the mind.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's just the mindset. In life insurance, I think there's a lot of mistrust in terms of, like, oh, what company and all of that. And I think that is also a barrier to us accessing certain things. Again, it's the fear. But by us not doing that, could you imagine if every Black person in this country had life insurance? Every Black person had life insurance. Like, you just wake up, you're born with life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
The way that we would be able to build wealth and what we would be able to do in our communities, yeah, it would just be magnificent to see if every time someone passed away, we weren't doing a chicken dinner and a GoFundMe, but we were able to say, okay, how are we going to use this money to build a business, to pay off these taxes, to buy another property? So yeah, just that mindset shift.
I hope people are really listening to what you're saying, and you're hitting the. I mean, I'm like wanting to, do a happy dance, because I am a licensed insurance agent, and I try to you know get our people to
Yeah, educate.
understand the importance of having life insurance. And then, like you said, I'm so tired of seeing us having to, once our loved ones die or something, now they're having a benefit. Now they got to have a
Right.
GoFundMe because
Yep.
selling all these chicken dinners and fish fries and all this stuff to help pay for just the funeral. And funerals, I mean,
Yes.
it's not cheap.
Cheap. It's
Yes.
It's
not.
not.
Nah.
And even the cremation is starting to be depending. So I mean, it's so
Yeah.
important, and I'm so glad said that. So I hope people are really listening and really take heed
Yeah.
I hope so
of getting a
too.
policy.
It does make me very sad, just especially when I have had people who have children, young children, and they're like, oh no, we don't need life insurance. And that's really heartbreaking to me, because if something happens to one of you or both of you,
Right.
like, that is going to significantly alter those children's lives, of course, but then also the financial burden that places on the entire family.
Yep.
So if you have kids, I always tell people, you have kids that are under the age of 30, because at 25, you still a child. 21,
That part.
if you have children under the age of 30, you got to have life insurance. Everybody needs it. Everybody, even if you don't have children. But if you have children, especially, you need it. Please, people.
Absolutely. Well, you heard it from an expert audience, so
Yeah. I mean, my parents have it too, and I have um have where I have all the paperwork and know where to go and who to call and all that other good stuff. And
That's good.
that way it's not hard on me because I am the oldest. So it's not hard on me to figure out what to do with this and that and the third, and
Yes.
it just makes life a little bit easier. I don't have to worry about, okay, who gets the money for the funeral home. That's all taken care of. So
Nice.
it's not that exhaustive as we think it is,
Yes.
but we do have to have our houses in order.
we
Yes.
do.
So yeah.
We do.
So
That is very true.
this is I'm guilty of this. Maybe not now, but I was. But there's often like a distrust for financial institutions in
Yes.
our community. That's what I said. I'm guilty of this. So what can financial advisors do to kind of bridge that gap in earned trust in our community?
That's a good question. That's a good question. And I think I even mentioned with like the life insurance, right? There's like, oh, the sleazy life insurance. That's like the thought, right? So there's a couple things that I believe financial advisors and financial institutions can do. First off is, when we're looking at financial institutions, and this is so when I first started with my practice, I was the only Black woman at my firm. And one thing financial institutions need to understand is that the people that are the financial advisors, the people who are working for your firm, need to also reflect the community of people that are in this country, right? So long gone are the days of it just being like the good old boy club, white men, and that for decades, that was a financial institute, that was finance. It was
Right.
and now older white men, right? And so,
Right.
number one, I think it's important for companies to have, advisors, insurance agents, people that look like the community, that speak the same language as the community, first and foremost. I would say the second thing for myself personally, I'm a very community minded and community driven person. So I do tons of like workshops, events. I will go and speak to anybody, anywhere. I love speaking to groups of people because when I'm doing a workshop for an organization, I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm not doing any of that. I'm simply providing information.
Yeah.
And so that builds trust right there, because it's just like, oh, this person is just here to give me information. Let me inquire a little bit more about what I learned. So I really enjoy going out into the community. I used to do workshops at my local library. And yeah, so I think it's important for us as financial advisors to get out there and get into the community, talk to people, so that there's not this distance and we're not sitting up in some ivory tower, but we're people too, right? We deal with financial stressors too. And so anytime that I can get in front of a group of people, answer questions, be on platforms like this, I think it just helps to build that trust. And then the last thing is, when I think about how I've built personally my clients, my client base, and I think a lot of other people are starting to do this more, is most of my clients come to me through referrals. And so I have more of a referral based kind of practice. Like, I'm not out here really cold calling people like that. Like, I have to have some sort of connection to them for me to reach out to them. And I find that when people have a good experience with me, with my team, they are more likely to want to refer me or want to connect me with other people that's in their world. So it behooves me to give good service to my clients, because my name is my reputation. My name is everything.
Right.
I think if financial advisors maybe change their model and how they're building their business and how they connect with clients and doing more of a referral based kind of practice, it'll make you want to, give good service, good, honest service, because people going to talk about you, right? So those are the things I would say I know have helped me in terms of like bringing down some of those walls within our community.
Wow. It's very important. And like, Janice was saying, finding the right institution, financial institution. And, while we're winding down, I do have a question. What do you think about credit unions or Black-owned financial institutions? I mean,
So I would say with the Black-owned financial institutions, and this is where it gets interesting.
I bet.
The struggle that I have with banks and credit unions is, like, for example, if you want a high yield savings account, oftentimes those companies are not able to give us the same kind of yield that other types of institutions would be able to. Now, where I do like credit unions, especially like the Black-owned credit unions, is when you're trying to build relationships for the purposes of getting loans. Typically, a credit union is going to have a better loan rate for you, whether that's an auto loan or a car loan or a mortgage. And because they're typically community-based companies, they're often going to have particular programs that speak to the needs of the community that they're in. So I think it's great to utilize them for your lending needs. But when we're thinking about wealth accumulation, I just think there's other there's other options that would yield a higher result in my experience.
Totally agree with that.
said it lightly. I'm like, yes, support, but also.
Yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good question.
So, I
Yeah, I
mean,
was
this has been a, it's always a great
informative.
question to talk, yeah, to talk to, expert with the, because when we met a year and a half ago, I said,
Yes, it was
so much
good.
I need to learn. I mean, even at my old age, I still need to, learn. And, you just imparted so much, little gems and stuff. And, how people, if people want to work with you, or how can they reach you?
Yeah. And before I jump into that, last thing
Sure.
I kind of touched on this, but the other thing I do want to encourage us to do is just little tidbits. Beneficiaries, any account
Mm,
that you have, whether it's a bank account, a life insurance, a 401k, an investment account, check the beneficiaries, put a beneficiary on there. Also, when it comes to beneficiaries, if you have children, do not make your children the beneficiary. Anyone under the age of 18
Okay.
cannot
mm,
receive
Yeah.
the money or the proceeds from those accounts.
mm,
You either need to have a trustee,
mm,
or you
Mhm.
need to make it somebody that's over the age of 18. So I just wanted to put that out there. And then don't neglect estate planning, your will, your trust.
yes,
That's
yes,
another area. We just don't be having
yes,
nothing, no type of paperwork about anything. So
right.
I would encourage you. There are free resources to help you with get these documents together. There's
Yeah.
so much information online. I myself don't create the will or the trust, but I do work with estate planners to help my clients put that in place. So even if you had a question about like recommendations or referrals, please reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram at Amber the Advisor. That's just at Amber the Advisor. You can also find me online. My website is
Okay.
ambermcneil.nm.com. So that's AMBERMCNEIL dot N as in Nancy, M as in Mary.com. And feel free, there's a contact me button on my website. You can also send me a DM on Instagram if you have any further questions.
All
Yes.
right. Janice, you have any closing thoughts? And
Well, we've learned a lot.
we did. We did.
We
Good, good, good.
definitely I enjoyed this conversation. We so glad that you took the time to come out and be on our podcast and talk more
Yes,
about and help our community to understand, and so very articulate about
Mm-hmm.
what we should be having in place. So I thank you
yes,
again,
yes.
Amber. Hats off. Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, we
Thank you,
appreciate it.
ladies.
We so
Y'all
much
are
appreciate it.
awesome.
So what I'm going to do, you guys, for those who are listening by audio, we will have all the information in the show notes of how to reach Amber. I strongly, strongly encourage you to reach out to this sister, because you can tell the passion in her voice, that
Hmm.
she is very passionate about helping our folks. So, please let's support her, and let's reach out, and let's, get our finances. Was it girl, get your finances right. There's a book out there. Yeah. Get your or straight. Yeah, girl, get
Oh,
your
yeah.
finances.
Mhm. Yes.
So, with that being said, we appreciate it. You guys take care, and thanks for another great episode.
All right. Bye,
Thank you,
All right.
ladies.
Bye.
y'all.